A young man by the name of Hiroshi lived in a small Japanese village hidden amid the country's sloped mountains. Hiroshi's unlimited enthusiasm and inability to be still were well known throughout the village. His thoughts would bounce from one subject to another like a school of fish in a swift river, and his mind was constantly racing. One bright morning, Hiroshi saw a group of people gathered around an elderly man with a long white beard as he was rushing through the town square. The guy, known as Master Akira, was praised by the people for his wisdom and calmness. Intrigued by the stories he had heard, Hiroshi decided to approach the master and seek his guidance. Hiroshi said with a hint of desperation in his voice,
Master Akira, I can never seem to control my mind. It's always racing and I feel like I'm being pulled in 1,000 different directions. Can you teach me the power of Zen and how to control my mind?
Master Akira smiled kindly at Hiroshi and said,
Young one, the power of Zen lies in the art of stillness and mindfulness. It is not about controlling your thoughts, but letting them flow like a gentle stream while you observe them without attachment.
Hiroshi laughed, finding it difficult to understand this obviously contradictory instruction.
But how can I let my ideas run freely? Will they mislead me?
Master Akira chuckled softly.
Think of your mind as a garden. When you try to control it, it's like pulling at the weeds forcefully. They resist, and new ones spring up in their place. But if you simply tend to the garden, gently plucking the weeds as they come, the garden will flourish naturally.
Hiroshi started his journey into the world of Zen under the direction of Master Akira. He would sit under the cherry tree every day and observe his thoughts without comment. His mind first raced even faster than before, like an anxious horse attempting to escape its bonds. But Hiroshi persisted, allowing the ideas to pass through his head like leaves swaying on a calm pond. Weeks became months, and Hiroshi noticed a change. His uncontrollable mental pacing stopped. Instead, it had a constant pace that was peaceful. He was able to concentrate on one thing at a time, whether it was taking care of his garden, creating a tranquil scene to paint, or having an in-depth conversation with a friend. One day, as Hiroshi was tending to his garden, he looked up at the blossoming cherry tree and realized that he had become like it, strong, rooted, and yet serene in the face of life's ever-changing seasons. Years passed. Hiroshi had been a devout student of the Zen principles, finding comfort in the practice of mindfulness and inner tranquility. He was renowned throughout the town for his unwavering calm and mental clarity, qualities he had developed during years of reflection and meditation. One autumn evening, a foreboding cloud descended upon the village. In a nearby forest, an evil witch by the name of Malvora had set up residence. She had a reputation for having hedonistic impulses and an endless thirst for pleasure. Malvora enjoyed other people's pain and ruthlessly fulfilled her needs with wicked magic. Her sinister presence cast a shadow over the once harmonious village. As word of the witch's malevolent actions reached the village, the residents felt overcome with fear. Crops withered, animals became ill, and joy vanished like mist in the early morning sun. The people went to Hiroshi, their lone source of peace, for advice and safety. Hiroshi, with his serene countenance, listened intently to the villagers' pleas. He knew that the path of Zen was not one of violence or aggression but of balance and harmony. Yet, he also understood that sometimes, protecting the innocent required action. Hiroshi started out for Malvora's home in the deepest part of the dark woodland under the crescent moon. He explored further into the woods and came across strange occurrences like bent trees, strange shadows, and an overwhelming feeling of dread. Hiroshi relied on his Zen training to stay controlled and calm despite the unpleasant surroundings. He eventually showed up at the witch's hideout, an abandoned home covered in thistles and thorns. Malvora was relaxing on a magnificent sofa, surrounded by the peasants' stolen goods and pleasures, dressed in opulent jewels and black robes. Malvora hissed.
Who dares disturb my celebration?
Hiroshi approached her with unwavering composure.
I am Hiroshi, a student of Zen. Your actions have brought suffering to my people, and I have come to ask you to cease your wicked deeds.
Malvora replied.
You say you're suffering? How funny! I thrive on the misery of others.
Hiroshi shut his eyes and tapped into his inner stillness. He took a deep breath and released a wave of soothing energy that bounced throughout the space. Both the witch's treasures and her pleasures lost their magnetism. Malvora was captivated by this demonstration of inner fortitude and asked,
What manner of power is this?
Hiroshi replied,
It is the power of Zen, the power of inner peace and detachment from desire. I offer you a chance to find solace within yourself and end the cycle of suffering.
The witch hesitated because her desires ran opposite to the peaceful atmosphere in the space. She remained silent for some time before giving in.
Very well, Hiroshi. I will leave this village in peace.
With that, Hiroshi turned and walked away from the witch's den, leaving the forest free from her sinister influence. Malvora had some inner peace despite still being hedonistic and understanding that life was more than just pursuing one's own needs. Hiroshi returned to village, where the villagers rejoiced at the news of their deliverance. He shared the story of his encounter with the witch and the power of Zen that had prevailed over her darkness. From that day forward, Hiroshi's teachings flourished, and the village continued to thrive, guided by the wisdom of a Zen student who had protected them not through violence, but through the profound power of inner peace. That is the way of Zen.